Hi guys, it's John. Here to make another painting today. Today's actually my friend Tim's birthday, so we're gonna be painting a picture of his dog, Kevin. I'm gonna warn you ahead of time, Kevin looks a lot like a dog we used to dog sit named Barkley, so I might call him Barkley at some point. But this is Kevin. This is Tim's dog, Kevin. One more time, Tim's dog, Kevin. If I say Barkley, I mean Kevin. We're gonna be doing a little bit of a mixed media painting today of Kevin. I'm gonna start with this watercolor kit here. It's just some travel kit. It's got a bunch of different palettes with a bunch of different colors. As you can see, it's well used. I don't like these brushes that hold water in them, so I'm not gonna be using that brush. I've got some brushes here that I'm gonna be using. And my water here. Whoops. And I've got some paper towels. I'll set it up like this. So this is, like I said, going to be a mixed media painting. First step in mixed media for me is watercolor, and then I'm going to go in with some colored pencils and a pen, and we'll get to all that when we get to it. But to start, we're going to start with watercolor. Now, the most important thing with watercolor is knowing where you're going before you start. And I know that Kevin is a white dog, and in order to make something look white on white paper, I'm gonna have to use some blue to delineate the shadows and leave the white spots pure. So I'm thinking to myself, what would be a good color for the background? And if the background's gonna be, if the foreground is gonna have a bunch of blue in it, which I intend it to, I think I want my background to be complementary, so let's go with this orange color here. This one. So I'm gonna open this guy up. And we've got a couple palettes of reds and oranges, so I'm gonna work between those two. I think I'm gonna mainly use this color, but I might deepen down into these, maybe go up into some of those. We've just got a big flat brush to get started. And initially, I'm just gonna get some spots wet here. Now, let's see what we can do here. Oh yeah. So this paint palette, I'm not sure where I got this. I think I might have just had this laying around the house. So I'm not exactly sure where it's from. It looks to be some Asian brand because I can see some kanji. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I'm not good with identifying the different writing styles, so we're not even going to try. This is the first time I've filmed live footage like this. I've done some time lapses with a setup similar, but I may struggle with keeping my hands out of the way, and that may mess with the focus a bit here. But I'm going to do my best to avoid it. Like I said, Kevin's white, so I'm gonna have to work with negative space a lot today, which is fine. Nothing I'm not used to. But when I do get to the point later where I'm doing some detail work, if I want to add some more white strands, I do have a white pen that I can do that with. And if I want that to stand out nicely, I've got to get it nice and dark around Kevin, so that the white highlights at the end stand out better. I am left-handed. You'll see me switch in between to try to keep my hand out of the way. I can paint with both, so I'm gonna do my best to paint with both. I've spoken about this before in my window painting video, but with something like this, the human eye and brain work together very cohesively, and they will help me with this painting. When I finish it, nobody is going to know or look for the individual strokes. They're just going to look at the whole painting. So I don't have to be super picky about my strands of hair or fur. I can get the effect of fur and it'll still show up nicely. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow. This may not do a ton, just to warm up some of these edges here. Maybe a little red. What the hell, right? What the hell? While I'm using these colors that are very close to each other in warmth, I am not really washing my brush out a whole ton. When I go in later and start to jump to other colors, I may have to wash my brush out. You see, I'm very loose here. I'm doing that on purpose. Like I said, I don't want to get bogged down in the details this early. So I'm gonna let the brush do a lot of the work for me here. Okay, that feels pretty good there. I do have to let it dry though, so I'm going to clean my brush off and let this background dry, and then I will be back to start on the next step. Okay, welcome back. I let that dry for a few minutes. I didn't wait forever. It's not perfectly dry, but it's dry enough for my purposes. We're gonna jump onto Kevin now. So when doing watercolors, you work in layers. And if you want something to be very dark, you have to do multiple layers. That being said, Kevin has, dark brown eyes and a dark nose and some dark spots in his mouth. So I think I'm gonna start there. I'm gonna start with the highlight color and then I will darken around it. So I'm gonna take this brush here. This is a number 10 round brush. The size doesn't really matter. I always try to use the biggest brush that I can comfortably handle for whatever I'm using. This is the smallest one I grabbed today because I don't think I'm gonna need anything smaller. So in my palette here, I'm gonna want some blue. So I'm gonna jump down here to the blues and pick one of these. I kind of like the look of C29 here, which is, I think, one of these here maybe. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't really matter because I can make whatever I need. So nice wet brush. I'm going to pull into this blue here and make sure that I'm very, very, very wet because I'm not trying to get a ton of paint down. Okay, a little more color than that. I'm gonna go in between these two here. So that's really blue, that's not what I want. So I'm gonna wipe most of the pigment off and come in with some water here. Getting a little closer. These will just be, there's some highlights, in his eyes. I don't want him to be stark white, so I'm gonna add a little bit of pigment to him to make him slightly blue. I think that'll look perfect for my purposes. I'm gonna do the same thing to his nose and the dark inside of his lip here. Just gotta be careful not to put too much color. Very wet brush. Same deal. We'll come here in his nose and here along the sides of his mouth. Soften that up. Nice, nice, nice. So while we've got blue out, let's do some messing. I'm going to take that same color. I'm going to start adding some shadows here. Once again, I'm being very careful with the amount of pigment that I've got. Sorry about that. Hillary was leaving for work. Pause it, say bye to her. I haven't touched it. I'm just doing the same thing still. Very carefully coming in here, picking out some of my shadows. Like I said, I'm scared of the pigment. I don't want too much of it. I don't really have a super dull blue in this palette. Maybe we'll experiment with some other colors here. See if we can get something to look nice. So these blues are strongly pigmented, which is really good in most cases. Not so much when you're doing, you know, a white dog. Another thing I can do though, to kind of kill some of that color, is I can take my paper towels and come in while it's still wet and blot away a bunch of it. Whew. Yeah, let's move down here. On the bottom, I've got more dull color. So maybe I'll try one of these blues here. I know they don't look blue, I'm sure, on camera, but they are. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so let's hit this again. Kevin's got a bow tie in this photo. In the original photo, he does not have a bow tie, but typically he is wearing one. So we are going to give him one. You can see it drawn in here. I'm not going to do it yet, but I am going to paint around it, give it a bit of a shadow. And as you can see, I am using almost like random strokes here, because I'm still trying to avoid bogging myself down in a ton of details. This is just a wet, clean brush. I'm going to come in and scrub some of these to take some of the stuff I don't want out. Okay, now that the eyes and nose and mouth have dried a little more, I'm going to come in with a dark brown. Come and hit these guys. So, like I said, I gotta work in layers. I'm being a little more careful here. Trying to avoid hitting some spots. Okay. Same deal with his nose. We're gonna warm it up a little bit with this color here. I'm just gonna try to avoid the main highlighted areas. Just try to get some color down. There's a nostril. There's a nostril. Because this is a mixed media painting, I have a lot more freedom in the painting stage because I intend to go back after the fact and do some further touch-ups with pens and colored pencils. So I don't have to be super fancy with any of my processes here. Hi, Rudy. You may hear my cat in the background. Unfortunately, not much I can do to get him to stop meowing. He doesn't speak English. Hi, Rudy. All right. So he's got some dark skin underneath his white fur. So how about we do some of that here? I'm gonna go less water so I get more pigment picked up here. Yep, just like that. And it'll get heavier toward the middle of his nose. Cool. Yeah. We're making some progress here. So his eyes are not black. They are slightly brown. But there's not much with these brushes that I can really do to correct that right now. I will come back in. I mean, I will give them the color that they need, but I will come back in with my pens and colored pencils and touch these up. But something I can do right now is delineate his tear duct, which is a little brighter. And I can hit around his eyes, which, just like his nose, have some color. Yeah, cool. See, I'm barely touching the paper. That's how I'm getting these tiny little lines with this relatively large brush. I'm trying to get, you know, some fine details. It's all really a balancing act. So I don't want to get too carried away here. But I do need to provide some kind of reference to work off of. Let's darken his nose up some more. And I know that's like a big jumbled mess right now, but when I come back with my pens, it's really gonna stand out. Give him a little line here. A little more touch in here. He's got some of his teeth visible, but I'm not really gonna go crazy trying to get those. I will give some fur effect around his mouth. Nice, happy with that. And I think now I can jump back in and with some more blue, touch up or add some more shadows into his fur. So it's good to know the general direction that the fur goes, which fortunately I do. You know, I know that it's going to come out from the edges of his nose, up and around his eyes, just like this. And he's a very fuzzy dog, so I can do nice long strokes. Then I know under his eyes it's going to come this way, come around his face, and flip out this way toward the bottom. So I can try to follow that. him being purely white, you lose a lot of the detail and definition that you would otherwise have. So it's important that not important, but I definitely do have to make up some stuff here, but that's fine. This is where having experience with other dog paintings helps me, because like I mentioned earlier, I do understand the way the fur tends to flow on a dog like this. Let's give him some here. Oh, that's nice. It'll kind of define his chin a little bit. I'm going to do the same on the other side to give me some more definition around his cheeks. And we'll do some of that down here too. You see, adding these in now, I'm going to put a big block of shadow underneath his tongue, which we'll do in a second. Now that I'm adding some of this hint of fur, all that negative space I left in the background is helping. One of the things I'm constantly doing while I'm making any painting is I'm giving it what I call the squint test. So just every once in a while, I'll lean a little further back in my seat and squint my eyes so that I can kind of get a look at the whole picture in one, to get an idea of where I'm missing stuff, where I could use a little more love, where he looks really good. And it just helps me to see the whole painting instead of the individual strokes that I'm putting on. See, when I squint, those are a little dark. So I'm just going to come with a clean, wet brush, soften these up a little bit. Yeah. Okay. I think it's time to mess with his tongue and his bow. So we are going to do the tongue first. I've got a nice pinky color in here that I think is going to work really good for the tongue. Can you see it? No, you cannot. This color here, I think will be a nice tongue color. Let's go ahead and throw some of that down. Ooh, yeah, that is a nice tongue color. So I'm going to come in here and apply this first coat. And this is very strongly pigmented, just like all the other colors in this set. So I'm going to make sure that I've got plenty of water on my brush so I can get it down softly. And while it's still wet, I can come in and get some of these softer details to take. So I'm going to add a little bit of depth down here. Some more depth up top. Make it look round by darkening the sides a little. And let's give him his line down the center. Once again, giving it the squint test. I think it looks pretty nice. A little maybe warm. So I can get my blues back. Not these blues though. Let's do my fur blue. And I can, with a very wet brush, put some blue in here and kill a little bit of that warmth. Whoa, that's a lot. Have no fear. It's still wet. As long as I work quickly, I can take a lot of that out. more or less exactly what I want. I think I'm a little dark here in this area. So while it's still wet, dab it with my brush. Come back in. So I'm really wet here right now. So I'm going to pull some of this water up. That is going to take some of my colors away, but that's fine. I can put them back. Okay, I'll let that sit for a little while and I'll come back and work on it. Now, like I said, he doesn't have a bow tie in the original photo, so I get to kind of make one up on my own. And while I'm looking at this, kind of looking at what colors I have and what colors I don't, I'm thinking that an orange bow tie would be too much orange. I don't think a blue bow tie would stand out enough. So what does that leave me? I could do some kind of yellow or green. I could do some kind of purple. I could do some kind of red. I don't think red's gonna work. I don't think purple's gonna work. I think a lime green is gonna be really nice for this. So we're gonna pull out our greens. I like this guy here. So I'll see if I can get this done with this guy. Maybe a little bit of him for the shadows. Yeah, so that looks really yellow, but that's totally fine because now I can go in with one of these darker colors and add some much needed definition to our little bow tie. Looks pretty good. Let's go even darker here. Some of the bottom parts. Make it really nice and dark. Give it some good definition. Cool. I'll let that dry before I do any more to it. And so I'm going to go back to my blue and keep adding some fur details. Now that I've got these other big structures in, I can see spots that need some more work. Under here. I got to be careful under here because I just put this green down. So I don't want it to bleed into my blue. So I got to be careful with how much water I put there. Same goes for this guy around the tongue. It's really dark, right? So I gotta come back in with water while he's still wet. Soften him up. Another one of the things that's really nice about making a painting like this is nobody is gonna know what photo I used for reference. You're thinking, why is that a good thing? Well, it's a good thing because I can give him as much shadow as I think makes a good painting, and it's not gonna look too strange. So this this is more shadow already than the original has. But I'm not a huge fan of just a white circle in the middle of my painting, you know? So I can, with relative confidence, come in and add pieces of shadow where I think a piece of shadow would look nice. I also think that it would look nice to have some gray shadows alongside my blue. So I'm going to come in with this same color that I used for the nose and the eyes and add some gray shadows too, just to balance them out a little bit. I think it'll be nice to put some shadows on the top side of this bow tie so that we know where the bow tie starts and stops. I think maybe I'll add some lines here to show where the ear begins. That looks pretty good to me. This spot's pretty blank right now. Maybe I'll add a couple strokes in here. Same thing goes with his head up top. I think it's a little dark, or light rather. Needs some more dark. So I can do this. Just add some of these gray strokes in. Okay, down here, the same thing. Not necessary, but I think it looks nice. His tongue's pretty dry now. So I'm gonna come back in with a little less water than I used the first time. I got a little carried away with the water the first time. Just give it a little more color going on. Then I'm gonna go here. Cool. And so I think this is pretty good for phase 1 of the painting. I'm gonna do a couple more little touch-ups here where I see fit, and then we can get into the fun part, which is adding all the details. Just darken this guy up a tad, darken here. Yeah, let's give it a squint test. Okay. I want a little darker here. Yeah. So his eyes kind of look blue to me here. So what I'm gonna do is disrupt them a little bit. And when I come back in to do the pens, I think that'll help a lot. So we're gonna jump into the pens next, but I do have to let this dry. We'll fast forward through the drying and I'll come back when it's dry. Okay, I'd say we're pretty dry. There's some wet spots right where the last spots that I touched in his mouth and things like that are. So I will avoid those for now. But we're gonna go in with some colored pencils now and give it some more detail. I'm gonna move my brushes and watercolors out of the way. And the colored pencils I'm working with today is just this Prismacolor set. Ooh, bumped the camera. 72 color set. It's all nasty, messed up, I know. I hate me too for doing that, but it is what it is. I will fix it at some point. I'm gonna set these up here. They may not be very easy to see. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is set them up on this other TV tray that I've got over here out of the way. You won't see the colors while they sit in the box, but you'll see the ones I'm using while I'm using them. And speaking of colors I'm using, I'm gonna start with some black or a dark brown, see what I can find. I don't see any black. And I've got this dark umber here. And this looks really nice. This violet blue, I'm quite happy with the look of this as well. Obviously not sharpened, so I've got my pencil sharpener here. I'm gonna come in and do some more detail work with my colored pencils before I jump into my black and white pens. The thing I like about mixed media paintings is that I can get a bunch of varied levels of detail with pretty minimal effort, make something really nice. Whoops, dropped my pencil. This pencil sharpener is not the greatest. It's eating up my pencil lead, so I might have to clean it. But let's start with this dark blue. I'm gonna come around and continue to add some details like I was. Now I'm gonna get around Barkley's eyes. Barkley. See, I did it right there. His name's not Barkley, his name's Kevin. Barkley's a different dog. Let's add a little bit of blue to the nose here. Still a tiny bit wet, but I can make it work. We'll do some blue down here. And I'm still not going crazy with, you know, like my attention to detail here. It does not have to be fancy what I'm doing. This is just to give it some more texture, you know? So it's nothing insane. I think I'm gonna pick my lighting direction in this step. And I wanna say the lights may be coming from right here on his face. So the sides of him will be a little darker. The bottom will be a little darker. Underneath things will be a little darker. And along the eyes, maybe you will get a little darker here. His ear, maybe we can do some darkness too. I just would like it to be less flat. Same deal with this brown pencil. I don't like those highlights. I'm gonna cover them up for now. And I'll come in with my white pen later. Because his eyes are very dark. I know that kills a lot of the life in the picture, but it's not gonna stay like that for very long. Let's define his nose a little bit more. Cool. What this is helping me do here is add a level of detail that I can't really get with a brush. I could, but it would take a lot of time. And I like the way that mixed media looks when it's done. And so I kind of have adapted some of those techniques to my style. Let's do some work to his bow tie here. I've got some darker greens. This is just called dark green. That's a nice green. This helps me define this here. I'm not doing anything crazy, you know, I don't have to do a ton of work to it. I'm gonna also grab a red. This is called Terracotta. Give me some nice red for his tongue. His tongue's not this red, but for the sake of an outline, I think it looks nice. Something I also make sure to do is not just put those colors right where they are. If I add a little bit of red other places in the painting and a little bit of green other places in the painting, it helps to make it more cohesive. It makes everything blend together, seem like it's supposed to be there. All right, we're still squint testing it. I'm pretty happy. Let's go outside of the lines. Because Kevin's, one of the things about Kevin is that he's got, much like myself, he's got a crazy, crazy hairdo. Got a lot of this going on out here. And I'll come in with my white pen and do a bunch too. Yeah, that's cool. Same thing I'll do with my brown as well. Okay. I'm also gonna add some colored pencil to the background. I'm gonna go ahead right with this terracotta that I've already got. And I really like to give a nice outline and do some scratches like this, just to darken up his edges here. Not necessary. I mean, none of it is necessary. I could have stopped with the watercolor, but I like the way that this looks. If I'm gonna do mixed media, let's commit to it, you know? And what this is also gonna do is help me when it comes time to do the white pen, have a little bit even darker around him so that it can really stand out. So I'm gonna put a bunch of darkness up here because I need the white to stand out really heavily up there. Same thing with this side. I'd like the white to stand out. I mean, I'd like it to stand out everywhere. I just think that this looks nice. It looks a little, I know, I understand it looks a little scratchy, but it's supposed to look scratchy. That's the point. Okay, what else do we want to do here? Do I want to add any more colors? No. No, I don't think I do. So that'll do it for my colored pencils. I'm gonna go ahead and put those back. I really need to sit down and organize this container because these colors are all out of whack. So that does it for the colored pencils. Now we'll jump into some of the really fun stuff. I've got a Posca pen. I've got just a ballpoint pen that makes really nice lines. I'll start with those two. I do have a white gel pen. I have a white gel pen somewhere as well, which I may be using later, but we'll see. And so here we go with this. I'm gonna pay a little more attention to detail now. Make sure I'm actually marking it. Hard to tell in that dark spot if it's actually marking. Yeah, see, I'm not getting, this guy's not marking for me. So I've got backups, Pilot G2. Any of my friends who are servers, they know all about these pens. These things are the greatest ever when they work. Come on, baby. Give me some ink. There we go. So this is very minimal, the details that this is providing. But it makes a huge difference to the overall painting. This pen's not working either. So we gotta get a backup for my backup. But don't worry, I've got plenty here. Okay. Let's try to get this guy warmed up. This tape on the sides, the reason I have it here is it's going to give me a really nice outline when I'm finished. Yeah, here we go. Now we're talking. And so, let's work on some of these outlines, huh? So I'm using this black pen, just like I would any other black. I'm using it to darken some spots. Anywhere that I think needs a really nice heavy black or any kind of detail work. And so we'll give it some scratches through here. I think this would look nice. Let's differentiate this line here. Same goes for the sides of his mouth. I'm gonna scratch that in the whole way because I want that to be nice and dark. We're going around his eyes. I'm even going in his eyes a little bit here. And now let's go along the outside. It's nothing particularly fancy. Once again, this style that I'm going for here is very loose and very gestural. So I'm trying my very best to not get super picky here. So I want it to be light and gestural. Hope that pen's showing up nicely for you guys. It's kind of hard for me to tell from where I'm sitting what the camera can see. Let's give some scratches in here. Let's delineate our bow tie. Cool, cool. I'm gonna darken up underneath the bow tie a little bit. So I'm gonna come through, give it some scratches. Same with the tongue. Nice, nice. I'm really taking advantage of this here to give me some indication of fur direction. It's my main goal here. Just in some of these darker spots helps me to make it stand out. Constantly doing that squint test that I told you about, checking to see if everything is to my liking, which so far it is. I'm quite happy with it. Okay, so let's mess with this Posca marker now. So he's got some highlights on him that I wanted to make sure I get. It's got some highlights here. We can add a little bit of highlight edge on the tongue. Nose highlights. I like that. I'm still making sure to not be super picky here. Some highlights in his eye. And then he's got some fur that sticks out over everything. So I'm going to get really quick, very light touch. Like I said, okay, and make sure we got plenty of ink in this guy. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna have some of this white come out here where I darkened up those spots just to make him look nice and fluffy. Cool. Same thing down here. We can even pull some white up into some of our darker areas. Add a bit of highlight to his bow tie as well. Squint test. Oh yeah. That's doing a lot for me here. See how much of a difference that makes. Breaking up the outline, especially on something like a dog that's got long fur like this. You really need to break the outline up in order to get the point across. Okay, now that I'm here, I want to add some more depth to the background. So I'm going to go back to my terracotta pencil from earlier and add a little bit more. But now, instead of being really scratchy like I was, I'm going to be a little more delicate here. Just in between my various highlights. I'm almost going to follow the streaks, or strokes, rather. At least the general direction of them. I don't have to outline them super carefully. I'm going to sharpen this guy up a little bit. Try to get... Ooh, pencil sharpener's full. Can you see that? Man, that's my problem. That's why nothing's sharpening. The dang sharpener's full. All right. Gotta clean this out really quickly. Oh man. Let's see if that makes any difference for my purposes of sharpening. Oh, imagine that. So much easier now. Maybe. Still broke. That is my biggest gripe with Prismacolors. They are very soft. So when you're sharpening them, it's very easy to break the lead. But because they're soft, they lay color down really, really nicely. So, you know, you got to take some of the bad with some of the good. I would rather them be soft and lay down colors really deeply than if they were hard and they never broke, but the colors were super desaturated because they weren't, you know, they weren't putting color down. So if they're soft, that's because color's going down. I'm looking for another color here just to give me some little variation. Ooh, that's really nice color. What do we got here? What's this called? It's like a scarlet almost. This is called Poppy Red. It's just gonna give me a little bit more saturation. I might even add some of that into here, into his tongue. Yeah, not too much. So what I'm doing now is I'm going in and hatching a few times in one direction, and then I'll cut those off with a hatch in another direction, and then a hatch in another direction, and I'm just working it like that. Give me some texture in the background. Doesn't have to be anything special. It's just to give me a little more interest. As you can see, it's doing a little bit, but it's not anything too crazy. Ugh. I'm really liking the way that this is looking. I hope it looks as good on camera as it does to me here. Man, these pencils are not liking this pencil sharpener right now. I'm losing all of my lead. Might be time for me to get a different sharpener. This is the Prismacolor sharpener. I don't know, maybe I'm being too rough on them. I mean, how hard is it to sharpen a pencil, you know? You'd think it would be easy. It could also be because they've been sitting for a while. I haven't used these pencils in a while. If any of you guys are artists and you know some tips that you'd like to share when it comes to Prismacolors, feel free to share them in the comments. You can always learn more stuff. It's one of the things I love about painting and being an artist in general is I don't know everything. Anybody who says they know everything certainly does not. So I think it's a great thing that there's so much art out there that I can look at and appreciate and learn from. Oh, what do we think about that? Oh, I'm so happy with the way this is turning out. I think Tim is gonna love this. All right, I think that I am finished. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to move on now to my final step that I do in every painting or drawing or any piece of art that I make. So I think I'm done. And the best way to know whether or not I am done is to walk away and come back in 15, 20 minutes with a fresh pair of eyes. And if I see anything that needs to be touched up, I will touch it up. So I'm gonna pause you. I'm gonna walk away, watch a YouTube video or something, mess around on the computer for a little bit, pet my cat, and I'll come back in 20 minutes with fresh eyes, check it out once over, one more time, see if there's anything else that I wanna add. And if not, I'm gonna sign it, get it in a frame. Be right back. Okay, welcome back. I took a break for a little while, watched some YouTube, and I'm very happy with this. I'm really glad that I took that break, but I think other than maybe one or two little lines here, which I'm gonna put in now, I don't think this needs any other work. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign it. So I always sign down here in the bottom right-hand corner. I think I'm actually gonna move you so you're even closer so you can see me sign it. Give me 2 seconds. So while I was readjusting my stand, it broke. So I'm just holding you in my hand right now. I'm gonna go ahead and sign right here, and we're gonna call it finished. Always put the date, 8/25. All right, let's pull tape and get out of here. Okay, I'm gonna try to hold you still while I pull this tape.
I'm about to do something terrible. Always pull away from the edge of your paper. Never pull toward it. So when you pull toward the edge of the paper, it's much more likely to rip.
Oh. So we ripped a little bit. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. I'm going to frame it and see how it looks. So we did tear a little bit. I added some pencils in there to cover it up a tad. But this is our finished piece. I'm very happy with the way Kevin turned out. I really think Tim's gonna like it. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, share with your friends. All of that YouTube stuff really, really helps out the channel. Helps me to grow, helps me to get monetized eventually. And otherwise, once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, here's the finished painting in its frame. I'm gonna give this to Tim tomorrow for his birthday. Hopefully he likes it.